Welcome to Moana's Meadow Report. It is August 10th, 2018. It's Friday. It's still my birthday month. I celebrate, yes, my entire birthday month. And I love August. And by the way, I haven't really talked about astrology much on this, but I'm a Leo, and that's a Leo trait. So, just Dave Ramsey, I said next time I get paid, I would do my best to do a minimum of 100 into my emergency fund or a maximum of 200, depending on how big my check was going to be since I was in Texas with my son. So the size of my check meant I was able to just do 100, which was fine because it still brings like so much relief when you, in this case, the app that I have is just this little piggy, and the more you put into the fund, the more pink it turns. So at first, for the $1,000, the pink was only just at halfway. Now it's a little more than halfway, and it, just that little more than halfway is a huge difference in like peace of mind. Dave Ramsey calls it wiggle room or a cushion. So I'm so happy that I'm getting closer to more wiggle room. And it's like the amount of relief, it's like insane. I could have never guessed how much relief would come with that. And with the next baby step, pay off all your debt, I need to really get the ball rolling and finding out how much debt we really have, which would entail getting the credit report from all three agencies, both me and my spouse. And that'll be nice to see because I feel like it's not as horrible as I thought or as I remember. I'm not sure. So I'll have to see that. And I'm just really excited to get out of debt. But I can't do that until I do baby step 1. And for the longest time, and it's so weird, but I was like against doing baby step 1. I don't know if it was because I was saying it's too hard, or I'm ashamed that I can't just go like this and have $1,000. Like, I don't know what it was. But now I'm completely on board by doing the baby steps in order and getting that emergency fund. And I just really wish when I first started hearing about the program, I was on board with, okay, baby step 1, pay the emergency fund. Like, I don't know why it was so hard for me, but I fought it for many years because we've been doing the program for 2.5 years. So I guess I fought it for 2.5 years. So I'm glad I snapped out of it, and I'm starting with baby step 1. I'm so motivated. Also, I don't know if I told you, well, I'm not sure if I said that I gave my son up for adoption. But I know the videos I made when I was in Texas, I'm pretty sure I said, this is my son, Kaimana, and I'm assuming I may have said I gave him up for adoption. But basically, the long and short of it, and I could go into detail one day when I'm comfortable, but it was, adoption happened because the timing just fell right. I wasn't too young. I was just 20. And I wasn't with a person that I would have wanted to have a child with. We were only together for 5 months. And technically, I tried to break up with him 3 times, and he put the guilt on me and wouldn't allow it. But then he eventually dumped me. And then my cousin, one of my cousins, I was complaining, sleeping over at her house, crying, and she's like, girl, we got to take you to the store. I'm like, why? She's like, to get a pregnancy test? Because, and I'm like, huh? So we get the pregnancy test, we come back to her place, found out I'm positive. And it was a weird feeling that came over me. I was like, do I never tell him? Do I tell him? What do I do? He's the one that broke up with me. eventually I told him, and he acted like he wanted to stay with me. But we were both, even in his own words, we were both very immature. And by the time I gave birth to our son, I was 21. But I had this conflict going inside of me, back and forth, back and forth. I was raised as an only child. My parents were not fond of each other, or at least one parent wasn't fond of the other. And that parent who wasn't fond of the other utilized me as a means to get paid child support. So it wasn't, well, what does Moana feel? Does Moana want to spend time with her other parent? You know? So it was not a safe place for me. I didn't feel okay. I didn't have a good relationship with money, which maybe could mean... Dang it. I'm getting emotional. That could be one of the reasons why I couldn't wrap my mind around having an emergency fund. Because that would mean I was feeling something I had never felt before, which is security when it comes to money. But, yeah. So I was like, yeah, no, this is not going to be good. Because I felt every cell in my body like morphing, and it could have been the hormones from being pregnant. But the distaste that I was having for my baby daddy was the same distaste that I was seeing one parent have to the other parent. And I was feeling myself turn into that person, and I did not feel comfortable with that thought. So I knew that any child of mine needed a mommy and a daddy. I also knew that it'd be hard to find someone that wanted to be with someone that already had a kid that wasn't their own kid. And I had a family member, a cousin, the one who adopted my son right now, but I mean, she, I was avoiding her like the plague, and she ended up convincing me to go down to her turf, talk to her, but she immediately knew I was pregnant, and first thing she said to me when she turned to me, after I was done avoiding her for 5 months or so, because I was avoiding her because I was pregnant. But she turned to me immediately and goes, "You're pregnant." And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Can we adopt him?" And I wasn't even far enough along to know the sex of my child. And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to tell my husband." So she grabs her husband. He looks at me and he's beaming and everything just felt right. And he said, "So, I hear we're going to adopt your son." And I was like, "Yep." It was exactly as it should be. And I don't know if any of you know about Leos, but Leos are one of 4 fixed signs. So there's Aquarius, Scorpio, Taurus, and Leos. Those are all the fixed signs. The fixed sign just means no before yes. And fixed signs mean there's immovable objects, and then there's you. So something moved me enough to not be my standard fixed sign of Leo, where I say no to anything before I say yes. Something moved me to say yes, yes, and yes. Just 3 yeses in a row. Those are the only words I spoke. And I feel like it changed the course of my son's life to where he wouldn't have to suffer the way I suffered. You're pregnant? Yes. Can we adopt him? Yes. And then my cousin husband comes and says, so I hear we're adopting your son. Yes. So something moved me to say yes in that moment. So, yeah. That's why I gave my son up for adoption. So, I don't know how long this report's been going, and I haven't seen the timer go off. So, I hope you have an amusing rest of your night. Thanks for letting me share.